had always heard that working the overnight shift at a highway rest stop was easy money, but nobody mentioned how quiet it gets after 2 a.m. So quiet it feels like the building's holding its breath, waiting for something. The first time I took the shift, I joked to my manager that the place could be haunted. He just laughed and handed me the keys. But standing behind the counter that night, surrounded by humming soda machines and the sickly glow of fluorescent lights, I started to wonder if those jokes hit closer to home than I wanted to admit. I tried to brush it off. After all, it's just a convenience store. A little box of stale potato chips, bitter coffee, and travel-sized shampoo bottles stranded in the middle of nowhere. The highway outside was a black ribbon, empty except for an occasional pair of headlights that never stopped. No radio, just the flicker of a dying bulb and the low whir of the fridge. I scrolled on my phone for a while, but even that felt intrusive. Like the silence wanted me to listen. That's when I noticed the smell. It was so faint at first I thought I imagined it. A wet, earthy odor, like someone had tracked mud through the automatic doors. I checked the floor, expecting to find footprints, but the tiles were spotless. I shrugged, chalking it up to nerves, and unlocked the sliding windows near the register for some air. The outside was so still, even the crickets had given up. I tried to shake the feeling that I was disturbing something by simply being there. A little after 2:30, the automatic doors hissed open on their own. My chest tightened. I forced a laugh, telling myself it was a motion sensor glitch. But when I stood to check, the entryway was empty. No cars in the lot, just the yellow circle of the parking lamp, painting two long shadows toward the tree line beyond the gas pumps. I shut the doors manually, telling myself I'd need to call maintenance in the morning. Back behind the counter, I tried to focus on the inventory sheet, but the columns wavered. I kept glancing up, half expecting to see a face pressed to the glass. The smell had gotten stronger too, like wet leaves starting to rot. I switched the air conditioning from auto to fan. The mechanical hum filled the space, but the air didn't feel any fresher. If anything, the rest stop felt smaller, like the corners were folding in on me. I heard a sound then, sharp and sudden, a muffled thump from the staff room at the back. Not a crash, not loud enough to be anything major, but enough to snap me upright. I told myself something had fallen. Maybe a box, maybe a mop. I walked down the narrow hall, flicked the light on, and scanned the cramped space. The only thing out of place was the cleaning bucket, tipped neatly on its side, water pooled around it. I could have sworn it was upright when I started the shift. I grabbed a roll of paper towels, mopped up the spill, and set the bucket back. My hands trembled just a little, but I told myself it was nothing. It had to be nothing. Back at the counter, I tried to text my girlfriend to distract myself, but the screen stuttered and froze before the message could send. No signal. I stared at the swirling, searching icon until my phone dimmed. I glanced at the wall clock. Time seemed to crawl. Every minute, stretching out longer than the last. That's when I caught movement out of the corner of my eye, a flicker, low to the ground, near the end of the snack aisle. My mouth went dry. I stood, listening hard. The whir of the fridge, the buzz of the lights. Then, a soft scuffling, almost like someone dragging their sleeve or a bag across linoleum. Slow and deliberate. I stepped around the counter, my shoes sticking just a little to the floor where humidity was settling like a film. Each step felt measured, as if I was being careful not to disturb whatever was lurking just outside my sight. I peered down the snack aisle, expecting to see a stray animal, maybe a raccoon that slipped in when the doors malfunctioned. But nothing moved between the shelves. Just the neat, overlit rows of chips and candy bars, their wrappers crinkling in the faint draft from the air conditioner. The smell was sharp now, like mulch after rain, but tinged with something metallic. I knelt down, checking for paw prints or scat, anything that would give me a rational excuse to call animal control and not feel stupid. The floor was clean. I straightened up, forcing a laugh at myself, but the store felt different, heavier, like the air was thickening with each passing minute. I let out a shaky breath and returned to the counter, telling myself I was being jumpy, that I'd just been alone too long, and my brain was inventing things to fill the quiet. For a few minutes, nothing happened. I counted the cash in the register, did a slow circuit of the aisles, and even stacked a gum display by the entrance, trying to keep busy. That's when the motion-activated security TV in the corner flickered to life. The monitor cycled through its 4 camera feeds: parking lot, entrance, aisles, storeroom. I'd seen it do this before. Sometimes a moth or a passing shadow would trigger it. But on the 3rd feed, the one pointing at the far back corner, something was off. A figure stood at the very edge of the frame. Not a person, not really. More like a dark shape, indistinct, with the vague outline of shoulders bending too sharply, as if it struggled to fit within itself. It didn't move. The camera feed glitched, lines of static cutting across the screen, and when the image returned, the corner was empty. My hands tingled, nerves prickling in my palms. I spun around, scanning the back wall, but saw nothing but rows of cleaning supplies. The mop bucket, upright this time, and the battered staff door. I wanted to believe it was just a smear on the lens or a trick of the low-res camera, but my skin crawled as the temperature seemed to dip, goosebumps rising on my forearms. I tried to calm myself. I said aloud, "If someone's in here, this isn't funny." My voice cracked in the silence, sounding small, like it didn't belong to me. No answer, not even the echo you'd expect from an empty room with tile floors and metal shelves. I searched the aisles again, deliberate and slow, shining my phone's flashlight under the racks and behind the fridge. Each time I thought I saw a ripple of movement, it was gone when I focused. A trick of the eye, I told myself, fueled by too much caffeine and fluorescent lighting. But then came the knocking. 3 slow knocks, not from the entrance doors but from the wall by the staff room. Solid, muffled, like someone wrapping their knuckles inside the drywall. The noise sent a cold ribbon through my chest. I pressed my ear against the wall, but heard only my own breath rasping shallow and quick. I knocked back, soft as I could, half hoping for silence, half expecting a return. Nothing. The dread was a physical weight now, pressing against my ribs, making it hard to swallow. I hurried back to the front, checked the parking lot through the windows. Still empty, no headlights, no movement, except for a trembling shadow cast by the lone lamplight. I locked the doors, more out of habit than necessity, my fingers fumbling with the heavy deadbolt. The metal slid home with a dull, final click. The air pressed in, almost buzzing with tension, as if the building itself had closed its jaws. I tried to shake it off, telling myself I just needed to get through the last hour. It couldn't be more than that. I stared at the clock above the cooler, watching the minute hand tick forward with agonizing slowness. I focused on the practical things, the key ring digging into my palm, the faint vibration of the fridge against my legs, the dust motes swirling in the harsh white light. I thought if I kept my mind on the details, the strangeness would dissolve into ordinariness again. That's when every light in the store went out at once. The silence became absolute. No hum from the fridge, no buzz from the lights, just the sound of my own heartbeat suddenly too loud in my ears. The darkness was so complete it felt physical, as though the shelves and counters had dissolved or shifted into something else when I wasn't looking. I fumbled for my phone, nearly dropping it before I could turn on the flashlight. The weak cone of light jittered over the counter, casting warped shadows that bled into the walls. The smell was overwhelming now, wrought in earth and something sharp, like rusted iron. I tried to ignore it as I scanned the aisles, forcing my legs to move. My breath felt too big in the stillness. I called out, voice shaking, "Hello? If this is a prank, it isn't funny. I'm calling the cops." I thumbed my phone, but the screen just spun, no service glowing back at me. From somewhere behind the snack aisle, a soft scraping began. It was a subtle sound, like fingernails dragging along cardboard, but steady, moving slowly toward the front of the store. I backed away, the beam of my flashlight trembling, catching glimmers off foiled chip bags and bottles. The scraping stopped. I held my breath, waiting, every muscle in my body tight as wire. Something shifted, just beyond the edge of my vision, a suggestion of movement, something low and impossibly silent. I wanted to run, to throw open the doors and sprint into the night, but the sense of being watched pinned me in place. My mouth filled with the taste of old pennies. There was a faint, wet sound behind me, like something being dragged across tile. I spun, light darting wildly. The staff room door was cracked open. When had that happened? I could see a sliver of darkness inside, denser somehow than the rest of the store. The air felt colder, sharp against my skin. I remembered the knocks, the way the bucket had moved on its own. My mind fumbled for explanations. Faulty wiring, an animal, maybe even a drifter hiding out. But the certainty that I was not alone blotted out everything else. I inched around the counter, keeping my back to the wall, edging toward the exit. My keys jingled softly. When I tried the door, it wouldn't budge. I rattled it, then realized with a crawling chill that it was unlocked. The deadbolt had slid open. Somehow I couldn't remember doing that. The automatic doors, however, were sealed tight, the glass pressing back against my hands as if the outside world had receded, unreachable. A soft, rhythmic tapping began behind me. I whirled, heart hammering, and saw the security monitor flicker back to life on its own, though the power was still out everywhere else. The 4 feeds danced with static, lines writhing across the screen. In each frame, the aisles were empty, except the back corner where the shadow thing had been. Now, that corner stretched deeper than the store actually.